He picked up a pair of American boots and realized his army would never survive. November 23, 1942, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, 0540 a.m. The jungle is already awake, not with birdsong, but with rot. Humidity clings to everything like a second skin. The air tastes of mildew, sweat, and decay. Mud sucks at every step, thick and hungry, as if the island itself is trying to swallow the war whole. A column of exhausted soldiers moves silently through the clearing. Japanese infantry. Their uniforms are stiff with dried sweat, faces hollow, eyes sunken. Some cough, others limp. One man, barely more than a boy, grips his rifle like a crutch. Hunger has turned discipline into survival. And at the center of them, General Harukichi Hyakutake, commander of the Japanese 17th Army. He stops. A signal is given. The column freezes. Ahead, in a shallow depression filled with rainwater and churned earth, lies something strange, something foreign, an abandoned American position. The jungle has already begun reclaiming it, canvas tents sagging, crates half-buried, equipment scattered like bones after a storm. Hyakutake steps forward slowly, carefully. You can almost hear the silence pressing in, because this is not just ground. This is evidence. A soldier kneels beside a crate and pries it open with a bayonet. Inside, neatly packed tins, rations, unopened. Another crate, medical supplies, bandages, sulfa powder, bottles intact. Another, uniforms, still folded, dry, clean. Hyakutake's expression doesn't change, but his eyes linger. Something isn't right. This isn't what he expected. He walks deeper into the position, and then he sees them. Boots. A pair of American combat boots left behind in the mud. Not worn out, not torn, not discarded out of necessity, just left. Hyakutake bends slightly, studying them. The leather is thick, treated, reinforced stitching along the seams. The soles are deep-treaded, designed to grip wet terrain. Even now, coated in mud, they look durable, resilient, built for this place, built for this war. He says nothing, but something shifts. Around him, his officers exchange glances. This isn't the image they were taught. The enemy was supposed to be soft, indulgent, dependent on comfort, unprepared for hardship. But this is something else. A faint sound breaks the stillness. Distant artillery. American. Not frantic, not desperate. Measured. Controlled. The kind of firepower that comes from confidence, from supply, from knowing you have more to give. Hyakutake straightens slowly. His gaze moves from the boots, to the crates, to his men. And for the first time, there is doubt. Because just days earlier, his forces had launched repeated assaults against American positions, night attacks, banzai charges, relentless pressure. The plan was simple: overwhelm them, starve them, break their will. But the Americans didn't break. They held, again and again and again. Even as Japanese soldiers collapsed from malaria, from dysentery, from hunger so severe that men boiled grass just to feel something in their stomachs, still the Americans held. Now, standing in the middle of this abandoned camp, the answer is beginning to take shape. Not in words, but in objects, in details, in boots. Hyakutake gestures. An officer steps forward. Examine everything. The order is quiet, but urgent, because this is no longer just reconnaissance. This is revelation. The soldiers move quickly now, opening crates, inspecting gear, lifting items with a mix of curiosity and unease. One man pulls out a ration pack. He opens it. Inside, chocolate, canned meat, powdered drink mix, food that lasts, food that sustains, food that comforts. He hesitates, then takes a bite. His eyes widen. Another soldier examines a medical kit. Everything labeled, organized, sterile. A system. Not improvisation, not survival. Preparation. Hyakutake watches it all, silently, calculating, because he understands something most of his men do not. War is not just fought with courage, or discipline, or spirit. War is fought with logistics, with supply lines, with the invisible machinery that feeds, clothes, and sustains an army long after the first shot is fired. And here, in this jungle, thousands of miles from American soil, the enemy has brought all of it. A breeze moves through the clearing, barely enough to stir the leaves, but it carries something with it. The distant hum of engines, aircraft, American aircraft, somewhere beyond the canopy, unseen but ever present. Control of the skies, control of the sea, control of the flow. Hyakutake looks down at the boots again. You can almost feel the weight of the moment pressing in, because this isn't just equipment, it's a message. An army that can afford to leave behind supplies like this is not an army on the edge of collapse. It is an army that expects to replace everything, easily, quickly, endlessly. And suddenly, the strategy begins to crumble. Because how do you starve an enemy who cannot be starved? One of his officers steps closer. "General?" A question hanging unspoken. "Are we winning?" Hyakutake doesn't answer immediately. His gaze remains fixed on the boots, on the mud, on the undeniable truth sitting right in front of him. When he finally speaks, his voice is low, measured, almost distant. This is not an army that will weaken from hunger or disease. The words hang in the air, heavy, unavoidable. Around him, the jungle seems to close in tighter. The sounds grow louder. Insects, distant gunfire, the endless oppressive life of Guadalcanal. But for Hyakutake, everything has gone quiet, because in this moment, he has seen the war for what it truly is, and it is far bigger than anything he was prepared for. Behind him, one of the soldiers slips. He catches himself, but not before his bare foot sinks deep into the mud. His boot, long gone, lost, rotten, unreplaceable. Hyakutake notices. Of course he does. And that is when the realization sharpens into something colder, something final. This is not just a battle of men. It is a battle of systems, of endurance, of who can keep fighting longer. And standing here surrounded by abundance, he knows the answer. But knowing it and surviving it are two very different things. Because far beyond this clearing, the Americans are not retreating. They are preparing.
The boots are left behind, but the thought of them doesn't leave. The column moves again, back into the jungle, back into the suffocating green labyrinth of Guadalcanal. But something has changed. Not in their pace, not in their discipline, in their silence. You can feel it now. The weight, not just of war, but of understanding. The path narrows into a trail barely wide enough for a single man. Vines claw at uniforms, roots twist underfoot like traps waiting to snap an ankle. The air is thicker here, heavier, as if the jungle itself resents their presence. A soldier stumbles, another catches him. No words are exchanged. They don't have the strength. Hunger is no longer a condition, it is a constant, a companion, an enemy within. Private First Class Nakamura licks his cracked lips. He hasn't eaten properly in days. The last meal was a handful of boiled leaves and something that might have been bark. His stomach has stopped complaining. It simply sits there now, hollow and numb. He glances at the man ahead of him. The soldier's belt is pulled tight, too tight, cinched around a body that has already begun to shrink. Everyone is shrinking. Behind them, a cart creaks, or what's left of one. Wooden wheels, half rotten, dragged through mud that resists every inch. Inside, wounded men, some conscious, some not. No morphine, no bandages left, only time. And time here is not on their side. General Hyakutake walks in silence, but his mind is moving. Fast, relentless. He replays what he saw. The boots, The food, the order, the ease. And then he compares it to this. A runner approaches, breath ragged. "General, supply report." Hyakutake doesn't stop walking. "Speak." The officer hesitates. Even now, the words feel dangerous. "Rations are nearly exhausted. Ammunition, limited. Medical supplies, gone." A pause. Then quieter. "Many units are foraging." Foraging. The word hangs like a confession. This is not how the Imperial Japanese Army was meant to fight. Not like this. Not reduced to scavenging in a hostile jungle, competing with insects and rot for survival. Hyakutake finally stops, turns, looks directly at the officer. "How long?" The officer swallows. "At current levels, perhaps 3 days. Less for some units." 3 days. For an army. Somewhere in the distance, a single gunshot echoes, then another. Not a battle, something else. A soldier mutters under his breath, "Someone found food." No one laughs, because it's probably true. The line begins to move again, but slower now, even slower. You can almost feel it, can't you? The drag of each step, the way the body begins to betray itself, muscles weakening, vision narrowing, thoughts slowing. And yet, orders are still orders. A small clearing opens ahead, temporary camp, or what passes for one. Men collapse where they stand, not dramatically, just drop, as if the strings holding them up have finally snapped. A medic kneels beside a soldier, checking his pulse. He already knows the answer, but routine matters, even now, especially now. Nearby, a group gathers around a small fire, if you can call it that, more smoke than flame. A pot sits over it. Inside, something unidentifiable. Leaves, roots, maybe a scrap of meat. Maybe. One soldier stirs it slowly, carefully, as if technique could make it more nourishing. Hyakutake walks through the camp, observing, always observing. A man tries to stand and salute. He fails, falls back down. Hyakutake doesn't react, not outwardly, but he sees everything. And what he sees is an army already bleeding from within. An officer approaches again, different one, older, face lined with fatigue. "General, reports from the front." Hyakutake nods. American positions remain strong. Defensive lines intact. Their artillery consistent. Resupply appears uninterrupted. Uninterrupted, the word echoes, because now it means something very specific. He sees it again. The crates, the boots, the endless flow. The officer continues. "Our attacks have not achieved breakthrough." A pause. Then, "Casualties are significant." Of course they are, because courage cannot fill an empty stomach, because discipline cannot cure malaria, because spirit, no matter how strong, cannot replace what is simply not there. Hyakutake looks out over the camp. Men eating scraps. Men too weak to eat at all. Men staring into nothing. And he understands something deeper now. Something colder. This is not just a supply problem. This is a breaking point. He turns to the officer. "What of air support?" The answer comes quickly. "Limited. American air superiority remains." Of course it does. The sky, the sea, the supply lines, all connected, all controlled. A system, a machine, and against it, men with rifles, and nothing else. The jungle hums louder now, as if it's feeding on them, on their weakness, on their slowing hearts. A soldier nearby begins to cough, violently. He tries to cover it, but there's no strength left for dignity. Another man turns away, not of cruelty, out of recognition.
Dysentery, malaria, disease is spreading faster than bullets. Hyakutake closes his eyes for a moment, just a moment, because now the boots are no longer just boots. They are a symbol of a war being fought on two entirely different levels. One side fights the enemy, the other fights the enemy and the environment and starvation and time itself. And no army can win all four. A distant roar cuts through the air, louder this time, closer. Heads turn instinctively. Aircraft, American. You don't see them, not through the canopy, but you feel them, the vibration, the presence, the inevitability. Moments later, the ground trembles. Distant explosions. Not here, not yet, but close enough. A reminder. Hyakutake opens his eyes, looks up, even though he knows he won't see anything. They are preparing, he says quietly. No one responds. They don't need to, because everyone can feel it now. This is not a stalemate. This is a countdown, and they are not the ones controlling it. Hyakutake turns back towards the jungle path, towards the front, towards the inevitable, because there is still one question left. Not whether they can win, but how long they can last. And as he takes the first step forward, you can almost hear it, not in sound, but in certainty. 3 days, maybe less.
The first bomb doesn't land on them. It lands somewhere ahead, but the sound travels. A deep, concussive thud that rolls through the jungle like distant thunder. Then another, and another. Not scattered, not random. Measured, deliberate. Hyakutake doesn't flinch, but the men do. Even the ones too weak to stand still react. Eyes flicking upward, shoulders tightening, bodies bracing for something they cannot see. Artillery? One soldier whispers. Another shakes his head slowly. No, naval guns. And that makes it worse, because naval guns mean ships. Ships mean supply. Supply means everything they don't have. Miles away, beyond the jungle, beyond the ridgelines and the choking green, American destroyers and cruisers sit off the coast of Guadalcanal. Calm, steady, their guns angled inland, their crews fed, rested, rotated, their ammunition stacked in perfect order. They fire again. Each shell travels unseen, screaming through the sky before crashing into unseen targets, Japanese positions, supply trails, fallback points. Precision born not from guesswork, but from coordination, a system. Hyakutake walks, faster now, not out of urgency, but necessity, because if he stops thinking, if he stops moving, the realization might catch up completely. An aide appears at his side. General, reconnaissance report. Hyakutake nods once. Speak. The Americans have expanded their perimeter near the airfield. A pause. They are reinforcing it. The airfield. Henderson Field. The heart of it all. Captured months ago. Held against repeated assault. And now, the anchor of American power on the island. From there, aircraft rise daily. Fighters, bombers, reconnaissance, a constant cycle. They strike supply barges, they harass troop movements, they deny daylight, and most importantly, they keep the line open. Hyakutake has never seen it directly, but he can feel it in every report, in every failed advance, in every hungry soldier. How many aircraft? He asks. The aide hesitates. Difficult to estimate, but consistent operations suggest many. Another incomplete answer. Another piece of a puzzle that is becoming clearer by the hour. They reach a ridge. From here, the jungle thins just enough to offer a view, not of the enemy, but of the sky. Clouds drift slowly, and then a shape cuts through them, fast, sleek, silver, an American aircraft. It roars overhead, distant but undeniable. No interception, no resistance, just presence. Hyakutake watches it pass, and for a moment, he imagines what lies behind it. Airfields stocked with fuel, maintenance crews working in shifts, pilots rotating, resting, returning, replacement aircraft arriving by ship, crates unloaded, engines repaired, systems feeding systems. Endless. Behind him, one of his officers mutters, "They never stop." No, they don't, because they don't have to. Hyakutake turns away from the sky, back to the ground, back to reality. A runner stumbles up the ridge, falls to one knee, salutes weakly. Message from forward units. He struggles to breathe. American reinforcements observed. New equipment, heavy weapons, possibly tanks. Tanks? In this terrain? It sounds impossible. And yet, so did everything else. Hyakutake texts the message, reads it himself. Short, fragmented, urgent, but the meaning is clear. The Americans are not just holding, they are building, while his army is dissolving. A distant crack of gunfire snaps through the air, closer this time. Engagement? An officer asks. Another listens, shakes his head. Small unit. Small units. That's what it's become. Not coordinated assaults, not grand offensives. Fragments. Hungry men clashing with well-supplied ones. Outcome predictable. Hyakutake folds the message slowly, carefully, as if the act itself might buy time. But time is the one thing he cannot control. He begins walking again, down the ridge, back into the jungle, and with each step, the contrast sharpens. On one side, an army fueled by supply lines stretching across an ocean, protected by ships, supported by aircraft, sustained by planning. On the other, an army cut off, starving, fighting not just the enemy, but entropy. The jungle closes around them once more, thick, unforgiving. A soldier collapses mid-step, no dramatic cry, no warning, just gone. Two others stop, look down, wait, nothing. One of them whispers, "Leave him." And they do, because they have no choice. Hyakutake sees it, registers it, adds it to the growing weight in his mind. This is what collapse looks like. Not sudden, not explosive, gradual, quiet, a system breaking down piece by piece. He remembers the boots again, clean, strong, replaceable. And then he looks at his own men, their feet wrapped in cloth, in rags, some barefoot, skin torn, infected, unreplaceable. That's the difference. Not courage, not discipline, replaceability. An American soldier loses a pair of boots, he gets another. A Japanese soldier loses his, he loses everything. The realization settles deeper now, not as a thought, but as a fact. War, at this scale, is not about who fights harder, it's about who can keep fighting, forever. The jungle suddenly goes quiet, unnaturally quiet. No insects, no birds, just silence. Hyakutake stops. Every instinct sharpens. Something is coming. Then, the first burst of machine gun fire tears through the trees. Close, too close. Men drop instantly. No time to react. No time to think. "Ambush!" someone shouts. American voices echo faintly ahead. Controlled, coordinated. Return fire erupts, but it's scattered, weak, because hunger slows reflexes, because exhaustion dulls instinct. Hyakutake is pulled behind a tree, guards forming a perimeter. The firefight lasts less than a minute. Then, silence again. The Americans are gone. Just like that. A probing attack, a test, and the result is already clear. Casualties are checked, numbers whispered. Too many. Again. Hyakutake steps out of cover, looks at the fallen, then at the direction the enemy vanished. They didn't stay. They didn't need to, because they know something now. The same thing he does. This army is running out of time, and the enemy knows it. A final distant rumble rolls across the island. Naval guns again, relentless. Hyakutake closes his eyes briefly, not in defeat, not yet, but in acknowledgement, because the war he thought he was fighting no longer exists. This is something else, something larger, more complex, more unforgiving. And unless something changes, quickly, there will be nothing left to command. He opens his eyes, and for the first time, there is a question he cannot ignore. What happens when an army realizes it cannot win?
Night falls fast on Guadalcanal. Not gently, not gradually. One moment there is dim light filtering through the canopy. The next, it's gone. Darkness here is absolute. Thick, suffocating, alive. The jungle changes at night. It breathes differently. Sounds grow sharper, closer. Every rustle feels like movement. Every movement feels like threat.
And for the Japanese soldiers, night used to be an advantage. This was when they attacked, when discipline and stealth turned the tide, when they became shadows. But not anymore. Now night brings something else. Weakness. A soldier fumbles with his rifle. His hands tremble, not from fear, but from exhaustion. He hasn't eaten, hasn't slept properly in days. His body is beginning to shut down. Nearby, another man scratches at his arms. Fever, malaria. His skin burns, but he shivers uncontrollably. A third lies on his side, staring into nothing. Too tired to move, too empty to think. This is the army of the night now. General Hyakutake sits beneath a makeshift tarp. A dim lantern flickers beside him, its light barely holding back the dark. Maps are spread before him, or what passes for maps. Edges torn, markings faded, positions no longer accurate, because the battlefield is changing faster than they can track it. An officer kneels across from him, colonel level, veteran, but even he looks diminished. "General," he begins quietly, "we must discuss the situation." Hyakutake doesn't look up. "Speak." A pause. Then, "Our forces cannot sustain another offensive." The words are careful, measured, but their meaning is not. Hyakutake finally lifts his gaze, meets the officer's eyes. "Explain." The officer takes a breath. "Our rations are gone. Ammunition is critically low. Disease is spreading rapidly. Units are operating at less than half strength." Half strength. It's an optimistic estimate. "Morale?" Hyakutake asks. The officer hesitates, because this is the most dangerous question of all. Declining. A single word, but it carries everything, because morale is not just spirit, it is belief, and belief is beginning to fracture. Outside, a distant flare lights up the jungle for a brief second, white light cutting through black. American. Even at night, they see. The flare fades. Darkness returns. Hyakutake looks back down at the map, at the lines, at the positions, at the plans that no longer match reality. "What of reinforcement?" he asks. The officer's answer is immediate. None expected. Of course, the sea is no longer theirs. The Tokyo Express, those desperate nighttime supply runs have become a gamble. Fast destroyers racing through darkness, dropping off men and crates before vanishing again. But it's not enough. It was never enough. You cannot sustain an army on fragments. "And evacuation?" Hyakutake asks quietly. The officer freezes, because that word is forbidden. Not officially, not openly, but in spirit. The Imperial Japanese Army does not retreat. It does not abandon ground. It does not concede. To suggest otherwise is to challenge everything they are. "General," the officer begins carefully, "that decision would require higher authorization." Higher, far away, disconnected. Tokyo, where maps are clean, where reports are filtered, where reality arrives, softened. Hyakutake says nothing, because he already knows. By the time authorization comes, if it comes, it may be too late. Another explosion echoes in the distance. Closer now. The Americans are not resting, they are pressing. A runner bursts into the camp, breathing hard, eyes wide. "Report from the eastern sector." Hyakutake looks up. "Enemy advancing, limited resistance. Our units are falling back." Falling back. Another word they are not supposed to use, but reality doesn't care about doctrine. "Casualties?" Hyakutake asks. The runner lowers his gaze. "High. Of course they are, because every engagement now is unequal, not just in numbers, not just in firepower, but in condition. One side fights with strength, the other fights with what's left." Hyakutake stands slowly. The lantern flickers as he moves. Shadows stretch across the map. He steps outside, into the darkness. The jungle hums again, relentless. Somewhere nearby, a man cries out, not loudly, just enough to be heard. Pain, or fever, or both. Hyakutake walks a few steps away from the camp, alone now, and for the first time there are no officers, no reports, no structure, just him and the war. You can almost feel the weight pressing down, because this is the moment commanders never speak of, the moment where the mission and reality no longer align, where orders become impossible, where continuing means destruction, and stopping means something else entirely. He looks up. The sky is barely visible through the canopy, but a faint glow lingers on the horizon. Henderson Field. Even at night, it lives. Aircraft landing, taking off, lights moving, fuel burning, engines turning, a heartbeat that never stops. Hyakutake closes his eyes, and in his mind he sees it clearly now. The system. Ships bringing supplies, aircraft protecting them, engineers maintaining everything, soldiers rotating in and out, an unbroken chain. And against it, his army, alone, cut off, dying slowly, not from defeat in battle, but from absence. No food, no medicine, no replacement, nothing. Hyakutake opens his eyes, and the truth is no longer something he can analyze. It is something he must face. Because the question is no longer if they can win. It is, how many will die before someone admits they cannot? Behind him, the camp stirs, orders whispered, movements planned. Another day, another attempt to hold. But Hyakutake doesn't turn back immediately, because he knows something now, something final. The war here is already decided. Only the ending remains unwritten, and endings are written in choices. He takes a slow breath, then turns back towards the camp, because the hardest decision of all is no longer avoidable. But will he be allowed to make it?
The rain begins without warning. Not a drizzle, not a passing shower, a sudden violent downpour that crashes through the canopy like a collapsing sky. Within seconds, everything is soaked. The ground turns slick, the paths dissolve, the jungle drinks and overflows. Water runs through the camp in muddy streams. Men scramble to cover what little they have left, but there is nothing to protect. Rifles rust, cloth rots, wounds fester faster. General Hyakutake stands in the rain. He doesn't move, doesn't seek shelter, because this is the reality now, unfiltered, unavoidable. An officer approaches, struggling to keep his footing. "General, we should move under cover." Hyakutake raises a hand, stops him. "Let it fall. Let all of it fall. Because no shelter can protect them from what's already happening." The rain hammers down harder, drowning out sound, blurring vision, turning the world into a gray, shifting haze. And in that haze, something changes. Not outside, inside. Because this is the moment where a commander stops hoping for change and starts calculating survival. "Bring the senior officers," Hyakutake says. The order cuts clean through the storm. Minutes later, they gather beneath the sagging tarp. Water drips through in steady lines. No one tries to stop it. They stand, not sit, too wet, too tense, faces lit by a flickering lantern, each one marked by exhaustion, by hunger, by understanding. Hyakutake looks at them, one by one. These are his commanders, men who have followed every order, carried out every attack, held every position, and now they wait, because they know. He speaks, calm, precise. "Our current position is unsustainable." No one reacts, because no one disagrees. Rations are depleted, ammunition is limited, disease is widespread, combat effectiveness is declining. Still, silence, because these are not revelations, they are confirmations. Hyakutake takes a breath, and then he crosses the line. If conditions do not change, this army will cease to exist. The words land heavily, even over the sound of rain, because now it has been said, not implied, not suggested, spoken. An officer shifts slightly, another looks down, but no one interrupts, because deep down they've all been thinking it. Hyakutake continues, "The enemy is not weakening,
A pause. They are strengthening. He doesn't need to explain. They've seen it, heard it, felt it. Their supply lines remain intact, their air and naval superiority uncontested. The system, always the system. Hyakutake's voice lowers slightly. We are not facing an enemy that can be exhausted. There it is again, the truth that began with a pair of boots. An army that cannot be starved, cannot be worn down, cannot be broken by time, because time is on their side. A long silence follows. Then, finally, one of the officers speaks. "General, what are your orders?" The question hangs, heavy, final, because this is it. This is where decisions become consequences. Hyakutake doesn't answer immediately, because there are only two paths: continue and lose everything, or withdraw and lose something else. Honor, doctrine, expectation, everything the Imperial Army stands for. But standing for something does not stop bullets, does not cure disease, does not fill empty stomachs. The rain softens slightly, just enough for the silence to grow louder. Hyakutake looks at the map again, not as it was, but as it is. Broken lines, fading positions, a front that no longer holds, and beyond it, an enemy that grows stronger by the day. He closes his eyes, just for a moment, and when he opens them, the decision is there, not spoken yet, but made. We will reduce offensive operations. Careful words, measured, not retreat yet, but a step. We will consolidate our positions, preserve strength, await further instruction. The officers listen, process. It's not the order they expected, but it's the only one possible. Because you cannot order starving men to attack. You cannot command strength that no longer exists. One officer nods slowly. Another exhales, just slightly. Relief? No. Recognition. Because this is the beginning of something, not victory. Something else. The meeting ends quickly. No ceremony, no formalities. Just men stepping back into the rain, into the dark, into the reality they cannot escape. Hyakutake remains, alone again. The lantern flickers, then steadies. He looks down at his hands, steady, controlled. But for how long? Because even now, even after the decision, the war does not stop. The Americans will not wait, will not pause, will not hesitate. They will continue, advance, build, strengthen, because they can. And that is the difference. Hyakutake reaches down, picks up something from beside the map, a piece of cloth, wrapped carefully. He unwraps it slowly. Inside, a fragment, leather, cut from one of the American boots. He studies it, runs his fingers across the stitching, the thickness, the design. Such a small thing, and yet it changed everything, because it revealed the truth, not in words, not in reports, but in reality. An army built to endure, and an army that was not. He wraps it again, carefully, because this is not just a souvenir, it is a reminder of the moment he understood, the moment the war shifted, not on the battlefield, but in the mind of the man commanding it. Outside, the rain begins to fade, the jungle exhales, and somewhere in the distance, engines roar again, closer now, louder, relentless. Hyakutake looks toward the sound, because he knows this is not over, not even close, and the next phase will be even harder, because now the enemy is coming forward, and there may be nothing left to stop them.
Dawn comes quietly, too quietly. No artillery, no distant shelling, no aircraft roaring overhead. Just a pale gray light filtering through the jungle canopy. For a moment, it feels like peace. But it isn't. It's something worse. Absence.
General Hyakutake is already awake. He hasn't slept. Around him, the camp stirs slowly, men rising with effort, bodies stiff, movements delayed. A soldier tries to stand, fails, then tries again. This is what remains of an army. A runner approaches, but this one doesn't slow down. He stumbles into the clearing, breathless, covered in mud, eyes wide with something close to panic. "General!" Hyakutake turns immediately. "Report." The runner swallows hard. "They've broken through." "Where?" Hyakutake asks. "Southern ridge, near the river crossing. Our lines couldn't hold." Of course they couldn't. Not anymore. "How many?" Hyakutake presses. The runner shakes his head. "Unknown, but they're advancing fast. Fast. That's new. Because until now, the Americans have been patient, measured. But something has changed." Hyakutake doesn't hesitate. "Prepare movement. All units, fall back positions." There it is. Not spoken before. Now unavoidable. Fall back. The order spreads quickly, quietly. No shouting, no panic. Just men turning and beginning to move. But movement is no longer simple. Not with this many weak. Not with this many sick. A group of soldiers tries to lift a wounded comrade. They manage 2 steps, then stop. They know he won't make it. No one says it. They just lower him gently and move on. Because they have to. Because now it's not about holding ground. It's about escaping it. Hyakutake walks at the front, not behind, not removed. He sees everything. The broken formations, the scattered units, the men who fall behind and don't get back up. This is no longer a retreat in structure. It's a retreat in fragments. And behind them, the enemy is coming. The first sounds reach them within the hour. Gunfire, closer, more frequent, not probing anymore, pushing. An officer rushes up beside Hyakutake. "General, we need to increase speed." Hyakutake doesn't look at him. With what strength? The officer has no answer, because speed requires energy, and energy is gone. A burst of machine gun fire erupts behind them. Too close. Men drop. Some return fire. Most just keep moving, because stopping now means dying here. Hyakutake signals a small unit. "Delay them." The soldiers nod. No hesitation. They know what it means. They turn, take positions, and as the main force moves forward, they stay behind, holding the line, buying time with what little they have left. The jungle swallows the sound of their last stand. Hyakutake doesn't look back. He can't, because leadership now is forward, always forward. The terrain worsens, mud deeper, paths narrower, water rising. A soldier slips, falls hard, doesn't get up. Others step over him, not out of cruelty, out of necessity, because the line, what's left of it, must keep moving. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time doesn't feel real anymore, just motion, endless grinding motion. Then they reach another ridge, and this time they see it. Smoke rising in the distance, thick, dark, and beneath it, movement. American forces, advancing, organized, steady, not rushing, not desperate, certain. Hyakutake watches them for a long moment, because this is the result, not just of battle, but of everything that came before it.
Supply lines, air control, naval dominance. The system working exactly as designed. An officer beside him whispers, "They're not stopping." No, they're not, because they don't need to. Hyakutake lowers his gaze, back to his own men, struggling, fading, and he understands now with absolute clarity. This is not a retreat, it is an unraveling, and once it begins, it cannot be reversed. Another explosion echoes behind them, closer again. The delaying units, gone. Time, running out. Hyakutake turns. Keep moving. It's all he can say now, because there are no strategies left, no plans, only survival. The jungle closes around them once more, hiding them, protecting them, or maybe just delaying the inevitable. Because behind that wall of green, the enemy keeps coming, relentless, unstoppable, and for the first time, not just in thought, but in reality, the line is gone. And once a line breaks, it never truly reforms.
The radio crackles, weak, unstable, barely holding a signal through the dense jungle and the weight of distance. A communications officer adjusts the dials carefully, slowly, as if force alone might break the connection entirely. Signal is intermittent, he says. General Hyakutake kneels beside the set, mud beneath him, rainwater seeping through his uniform. None of it matters, because this is the last thread. Tokyo, High Command, the place where decisions are still theoretical, where maps are clean, where armies are still intact. Prepare transmission, Hyakutake says. The officer nods, hands trembling, not from fear, but from exhaustion. A sheet of paper is placed in front of the general, blank. For a moment, he doesn't write, because what he is about to say cannot be unsaid. Around him, the remnants of his army continue to move, slowly, painfully. Some collapse as they pass, others don't even notice. This is the backdrop, this is the truth, and now he must translate it into words. He picks up the pen and begins. 17th Army, current situation, critical. He pauses. Even now the instinct is to soften, to frame, to preserve dignity, but dignity will not save them. He continues. Enemy strength increasing, supply situation stable, air and naval superiority complete. Each word is deliberate, each one chosen not for comfort but for accuracy. Own forces suffering from severe lack in rations, ammunition, and medical supplies. A drop of rain hits the page, the ink spreads slightly. He doesn't stop. Disease widespread, combat effectiveness rapidly declining. The radio crackles again. The operator adjusts, nods. Still connected, for now. Hyakutake's grip tightens slightly, because now comes the part that matters, the truth that changes everything. He writes slowly. Under current conditions, continuation of offensive operations impossible. There it is, the first fracture. Not defeat, not yet, but admission. He continues. Request immediate strategic reconsideration of Guadalcanal Abyan. Reconsideration, another careful word. Not withdrawal, not abandonment, but the meaning is clear. Or at least, it should be. He stops writing, looks at the page. It's not enough. It doesn't capture it. The hunger, the bimari, the tutna, the reality cannot fit into military language. But he tries once more, adds a final line. Enemy logistical capability exceeds expectations. Sustained resistance unlikely without reinforcement. He puts the pen down. The message is complete, but it feels incomplete because no words can fully describe what's happening here. The operator looks up. Ready to transmit, General. Hyakutake nods once. Send it. The transmission begins. Dots and dashes, signals carrying weight far beyond their sound, across jungle, across ocean, across the distance between reality and perception. Hyakutake listens, as if he can will the message to be understood, not just received, because receiving it is not enough. They must believe it, and that is far less certain. The transmission ends. Silence returns. The operator exhales. It's sent. Sent, but not answered. Not yet. And time is not waiting. Hyakutake stands slowly, looks out at what remains of his force. Fewer now, noticeably fewer. The gaps are growing, not just in numbers, in structure, in cohesion. This is no longer an army in formation. It is a collection of survivors, moving, only moving. An officer approaches. General, what now? A simple question, but the answer is no longer simple. Hyakutake looks toward the horizon, toward the unseen coast, toward the ships, toward the system that never stops, then back at his men, and finally he speaks. We wait. The officer blinks. Wait? For what? Orders? Reinforcements? A miracle? Hyakutake doesn't clarify, because even he doesn't know. But there is nothing else left to do. They cannot advance. They cannot hold. They can only endure. Until Tokyo decides what this army is worth. Until someone far away chooses between pride and survival. The jungle hums again, unchanged, uncaring, and somewhere far beyond it, the message travels, carrying with it the entire weight of a campaign. A single question hidden between its lines. Will they listen, or will they let this army disappear?
The reply does not come that day, nor the next. Time stretches thin in the jungle, measured not in hours, but in how many men are still standing. General Hyakutake waits, because there is nothing else left to do. The army continues to move in fragments, small groups, scattered units, each one trying to survive long enough for orders that may never arrive. Hunger deepens. Now it's no longer just weakness, it's hallucination. A soldier stares at the ground, smiles faintly. Rice, he whispers, but there is nothing there. Another man laughs suddenly, sharp, uncontrolled, then stops, as if the sound itself scared him. This is what starvation does. It breaks the mind before the body finally gives up. Hyakutake sees it all, and each moment reinforces the same truth. They are no longer fighting the Americans. They are fighting time, and time is winning. On the third day, the radio crackles again, weak but clear enough. Every head turns. The operator scrambles into position, adjusts the frequency, listens, then looks up. Message from Imperial headquarters. Silence falls instantly, because this is it. Hyakutake steps forward. Read. The operator nods, begins. 17th Army will maintain current positions. A pause. The words hang, heavy. And continue operations to secure Guadalcanal. No one moves. No one speaks. Because for a moment, no one understands.
Maintain positions? Continue operations? Here? Now? Hyakutake's expression does not change, but something inside him settles. Not hope, not relief, something colder, recognition. The message continues. Reinforcements under consideration, further instructions to follow. Under consideration, further instructions, words from another world, a world where time still exists, where decisions can be delayed, where reality has not yet arrived. The transmission ends. Silence returns. The operator lowers his hands slowly. No one looks at each other, because there is nothing to say. The order is clear and impossible. An officer finally speaks, voice low. "General, we cannot—" He doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. Hyakutake raises a hand, stops him, because the truth, that has already been spoken. Not here, but days ago, in a clearing filled with abandoned crates, in a pair of boots left in the mud. He turns away from the radio, walks a few steps into the jungle, alone again, because this decision, this moment, cannot be shared. The order stands, but reality does not bend to orders, it breaks them. Hyakutake looks at the ground, at the mud, at the footprints left by men who may not survive the day, and he understands something now with absolute certainty. Tokyo does not see this. They cannot feel it. They do not hear the silence between gunfire, the emptiness in each step, the absence in every supply line. They are fighting a different war, and that difference is costing lives, many lives. He closes his eyes briefly, because now there is only one question left. Not what he has been ordered to do, but what he will actually do. Because following the order means destruction. Ignoring it means something else, something dangerous, something unthinkable, but necessary. Behind him, the army waits, not for Tokyo, for him. Hyakutake opens his eyes. The decision forms quickly now, because it has already been made, in pieces, over days, over moments. This is just the final step. He turns back towards the camp, towards the officers, towards the men who are still standing, and when he speaks, his voice is calm, steady, unshaken. "We will not hold this position." The words cut clean, no hesitation, no ambiguity. "We will withdraw." There it is, the word that was never meant to be spoken, now undeniable. An officer stares at him. "General, Tokyo's orders," Hyakutake interrupts, "are based on information that is no longer valid." Silence, because this is more than a decision. It is defiance. Measured, controlled, but defiance nonetheless. "We will preserve what remains of this army. Anything else is unacceptable." The officers exchange glances, not in disagreement, in understanding, because they've already seen it, felt it, lived it. This is not retreat, this is survival. Orders begin to move again, quiet, efficient, different now, because there is purpose again, not victory, but preservation, and that is enough. Hyakutake steps back, looks once more at the jungle around him, the same jungle, but not the same war, because now he is no longer trying to win Guadalcanal, he is trying to escape it. And somewhere far away, Tokyo still believes the battle continues, but here, on the ground, it is already over. The only question now is how many will make it out alive.
The jungle does not remember them. Not their names, not their ranks, not their sacrifices. Within days, the trails they carved begin to disappear.
Rain washes away footprints. Vines reclaim broken paths. The earth closes over everything, as if they were never there. But for those who survive, Guadalcanal will never fade. The withdrawal is not a single movement. It is a slow unraveling in reverse. Small groups slipping through the jungle, avoiding contact, avoiding sound, avoiding the enemy that now controls the island. General Hyakutake moves with them, not as a distant commander, but as a man among what remains. Because there is no front line anymore. No defined battlefield. Only escape. Behind them, American forces continue their advance. Steady, unstoppable. They take ground not with desperation, but with certainty. Because they are no longer fighting for survival. They are enforcing inevitability. And that is the final advantage. Days later, the coast comes into view. Not as salvation, but as a last chance. The Tokyo Express still runs. Fast destroyers cutting through the night, risking everything to extract what they can. But space is limited. Time is limited. Everything is limited. Men gather at the shoreline, silent, waiting. Some will leave. Some will not. No one says it, but everyone knows. Hyakutake stands at the edge of the water, waves crashing softly against the shore. The sound almost peaceful. Almost. He looks out at the dark horizon. Somewhere beyond it, ships are coming. And for the first time in weeks, there is something like hope. Not for victory, but for survival. Behind him, the remnants of the 17th Army wait. Fewer now, much fewer, but still alive. And that is the only victory left. A soldier approaches, hesitates. General. Hyakutake turns slightly. The soldier looks down, then back up. Was it worth it? A dangerous question. Not disrespectful, not disloyal, just honest. Hyakutake studies him for a moment, because there is no easy answer. Not here, not now. He could speak of duty, of honor, of sacrifice, but those words feel different now. So instead, he answers with something else. The war, he says slowly, is not what we believed it to be. The soldier listens. Hyakutake continues. It is not decided by courage alone, a pause, or by how much a man is willing to endure. Another pause. It is decided long before the battle begins. The soldier frowns slightly, doesn't fully understand. Not yet. Hyakutake looks back out at the sea, and in his mind, he sees it again. The boots, clean, strong, replaceable. A small detail, but it carried the weight of something much larger, because it revealed the truth that modern war is not just fought on the battlefield. It is built, prepared, sustained. An army that eats, fights. An army that heals, returns. An army that replaces, endures. And an army that cannot, falls. No matter how brave, no matter how disciplined, no matter how determined. The ships arrive just before midnight, dark shapes cutting through darker water. No lights, no signals, just speed. Orders are whispered, movements controlled. Men begin to board, quickly, efficiently. No one rushes, no one speaks, because this is not victory. This is extraction. Hyakutake waits, ensures others go first. Officers, wounded, what remains of his command. Because leadership, even now, means last to leave. The deck is crowded, silent, engines rumble, and slowly, the shoreline begins to fade. Guadalcanal receding into darkness, but its lesson remains. Hyakutake stands at the stern, watching,
until the island completely disappears. And in that moment, there is no illusion left, no strategy to reconsider, no outcome to debate, only truth. The war has changed, and those who do not understand that change will not survive it. The ship turns, heads into open water. Behind them, the battle is over. Ahead, a much larger war waits, one that will not be decided by a single island, but by something far greater, something invisible, something unstoppable. Logistics, industry, endurance, the real weapons of modern war. And as the engines carry them away, Hyakutake finally lets go of the last question, not whether they could have won, but whether they ever truly had a chance. The answer was in the mud, in a pair of boots, left behind because they could be replaced.